Clickbait titles, list videos. I must be getting desperate. I gave my viewers a poll earlier this week about whether they wanted me to do a deep dive or explore either the one D&D Beastmaster or the concept of paladins using their smites at range. Well, the poll results flipped in the process of me recording this video, so congratulations to my viewers and whoever else finds this. Looks like we're getting an extra video this week. Later this week, we're gonna discuss the Paladin, but today, we're making predictions about the one D&D Beastmaster Ranger, and noting a few design pitfalls I'm expecting WotC to stumble into again. But right before we do, this video is gonna cost you. You must pay a fee of 1 subscription and 1 click on the notification bell because the channel's not gonna grow without you. On to the list. Number 1 on our list is generic stat blocks. We already learned from our video on the one D&D druid that generic stat blocks suck. They are templates for real creatures even though 5th edition creatures hardly count as real. Believe it or not, the first time most people in 5th edition were exposed to the simple wild-shaped forms, it was back in an Unearthed Arcana for the Beastmaster Ranger. But people didn't like it. They didn't want a generic land animal or generic water animal for their companion. They wanted a wolf. They wanted a shark. You don't have to make the creature stat block identical to the monster stat block if you're designing a game. You just have to avoid making it worse. Worse in combat, worse in fantasy, worse in identity. If the player's wolf meets an actual wolf, it should be better in combat, cooler in play, and more fun to run as a companion, not the other way around. Number 2 on our list is static companions. The beast companions of 1D&D can't repeat 5th edition's mistakes. If WotC wants any hope of making competent beastmasters, their animals have to get better over time. I don't just mean tiny increments to damage and hit points, I mean new moves for your beast to enjoy. Of course, 1D&D looks to be stripping their characters of even more abilities and moves that characters rely on for agency and combat and daily adventuring life. It's beginning to resemble the basic expert series of D&D more than it resembles WotC's prior editions. Cooler beast companions require some overlap with how player characters are built. They need to gain tactical or strategic advantages over time. Number 3 is monster fodder. Here's a pretty controversial take. If you sell someone on the fantasy of having a pet from childhood or adolescence that their characters has known for their entire adventuring life, you probably shouldn't kill said pet in 2 months of play. This actually isn't too hard to fix, by the way. There are only a few real risk factors for animal companions to die instantly. Breath weapons like those of a dragon are one of the few effects in 5th edition that will probably one-shot an animal companion. But if 1D&D can't adjust breath weapons downwards in damage, that's still probably okay. Give the beast companion the 3 R's of beating character death. Let them get revived after death, reincarnated after death, or recovered from a dying state. Number 4 on our list is solo companions. I should not have made the title of this entry plural. See, one of the worst parts of 5th edition is the lack of dedicated companion rules. Do you want a pet? Do y'all want summons? Well, you better have a class feature that gives you a pet or summons if you want it to last longer than a session of adventuring. And if you want your DM to know how it works. Sure, you can buy hirelings, you can buy pets, but they all have less than 20 hit points. And your DM has no resources or recourse for handling them with higher level parties. In fact, most DMs don't even have the resources to handle summons. It wouldn't be hard to come up with some procedure for handling friendly critters in combat without just saying that they work the same way as PCs. Number 5, the final item on our list, is the Player's Handbook release. 1D&D was initially announced as a kind of backwards compatible edition option. WotC would never lie to us about that, would they? Alright, alright, but surely WotC won't do it to us this time, will they? Here's the deal, folks. The designers at WotC do not have the foresight to make effective companion-based characters or rule sets out of the gate. One D&D may be kind of similar to 5th edition, but 5th edition was similar to 4th edition, had a bunch of similarities with 3rd edition as well. Maybe 5th edition was even more similar to 3rd edition than 4e. Did the lessons learned from those games help release a competent, desirable, fantasy-fulfilling Beastmaster in 5th edition? Absolutely not. There's a reason the 4th edition dev team waited a few product releases before drilling down on companion characters. While 1st edition was built as a partial wargame, and thus the designers knew in advance how unit-based tactics and strategy would impact the game, 4th edition was about far smaller groups of people. The 4th edition team knew that they were designing for pulp heroes off the bat. They were making a new game. They had to see how the game played out in this new space before they could properly evaluate how companions would impact play, and how play would impact companions. If you're gonna sell a player on taking their pet wolf into combat, it's probably best if the wolf doesn't get one-shot and buried. If the player has a rotating cast of animals, because none of them survive longer than a session, we can reasonably say it doesn't fit with modern design objectives. WotC has to wait if they want companion rules to work. They have 2 decades worth of proof that they can't do it on launch, and trying to add companion rules on launch just prevents them from fixing said rules in the future. At this point, there's just no excuse for it.